Okay, Saturday, 10th of May, 2025. So, Adrian's daily vlog, sharing smart stuff men should know. Psychology, Saturday. Understand yourself better. Morality comes from genetics. An interesting little statement there. Now, for a good while, I was thinking, where do morals come from? And is it moral subjectivity or objectivity? Is there objectivity? Is there a universal metric that we all abide by? Then in some way you could say yes, there is, in a sense of what the critical mass or the majority of people agree or disagree when faced with X or Y or Z dilemma. As in, the commonality there is genetics, our approach to life. For example, there's nothing, everyone would agree there's nothing morally wrong with drinking water, for example. Everyone would say that because everyone needs to drink water. Again, genetics ultimately there. And the other one is subjectivity in a sense of culture, community, society. Because what is legal or not taboo right here, this particular geolocation, could have been illegal or taboo 100 years ago, or will be illegal or taboo 100 years from now. What's changed is the people have changed, times have changed, the standards, the culture, community has changed. Just how what's legal here and what's not taboo here, the very same thing could be illegal and taboo 10,000 kilometers that way, or maybe 3,000 kilometers that way, or whatever, 6,000 that way, 2,000, you name it. Pick a direction, pick a number. And we can say that in different countries, in a sense of what's legal and taboo here might be completely illegal, I don't know, somewhere in Africa or Latin America or somewhere else in Europe, for example. A very simple example of this, you could say, is which side of the road to drive on. It doesn't particularly matter, left or right, because they both work, evidently. But here, in this particular location in the world, left side of the road, but a few thousand kilometers away, other side of Europe, it's right side of the road. Okay, interesting. And that's culture. It's just standards. So the community have generally accepted, en masse, the critical mass, this side, that side, for whatever limiting factor or society, or whatever reason, horseback or roads or whatever else, there's a reason behind it. And we can go deeper, because I noticed, morally speaking and religiously speaking, I could have beer. I can eat pork, for example. No problems. Still alive to tell the tale. Okay, okay. And yet I've not been smitten by Odin, Zeus, Osiris, anyone else, you name it, Artemis, you name it, the list of gods, whatever else. I didn't do any prayers or any I don't know, sacrifices to an altar or whatever else, and here I am. I ate prawns, I ate seafood, no problems. Oh, interesting. So I would do these things that by certain cultures and communities that will be not allowed, not or even taboo. Eating pork, for example, beer, for example. And yet I'm totally fine. And yet, over there, whatever, 10,000 miles that way, 15,000 kilometers that way, it's illegal or taboo. Ooh. And yet no problems. Physically speaking, no problems. I can't speak for the afterlife, but right now, right here, health-wise, no problems. Now, what does that tell you? It's fine. But then we can go even deeper to say, well, the reason that community 500, 1,000, 1,500, 2,000 years ago said no beer, no wine, no pork, is because of the limitations of the time, the technology of the time. Or even, zero tolerance. So, for example, you could say that pork was only became taboo in certain places because it's considered dirty. Yeah, okay, the insects, for example, inside it. But that's only because the technology was a limiting factor. When it became possible to cure ham, or pork really, as in to clean it, as in cleanse it with salt and other things like that, that's why pork is generally salty, it's the cleaning process, it's the curing process. Once that happened, as a practical down-to-earth matter, it was possible to eat ham and be okay. I'm evidence of that. Interesting. So as technology came along, it changed morality. But even though in the society, the taboo, the morality, what's wrong, or eating pork is wrong, because ultimately morality is an emotional judgment on something absolute. So as technology changed, it made things more viable. It made it available. It made it viable and available to eat pork could be totally fine. Okay, but then wine, you could say, alcohol. The limiting factor was, not an ignorance towards alcohol and its effects, but they could see from evidence that it was having problems on society, affecting people's behaviour. They didn't know how, ethanol and the balances and the chemicals, that kind of stuff, but they could tell by observation this had a problem. So then what are you going to do in a primitive society 2,000 years ago, 3,000 years ago, 2,000 or 1,000 years ago? Oh, units of alcohol, 1 and 2 pints. Oh, no, that's fine. Like today, one alcohol, 1 pint is 1.6 units, things like that. Too scientific, too technical. 2,000 years ago, this stuff didn't exist. The understanding didn't exist. So it was either nuanced approach, like today, 2 glasses of wine is a problem, but 1's okay, but 3's a disaster. The alternative is absolutist. No alcohol. That's it. Interesting. Just no. Total ban. Total cultural ban and prohibition, and it's taboo. And soon it becomes law, and soon it becomes automatic. Now, what's even more interesting is that I did a video about this, is social learning theories. As generations pass and it just becomes normal, it becomes socially normal and just accepted. Just like today in the UK, it's just socially normal because of generations to drive left hand side of the road. Just over time, it just becomes normal, embedded into the society, embedded into the culture as just a default assumption, a default position to take. As technology changes things, it means that it challenges that foundation. And you can then, hang on, let's go back a bit. As it becomes normal in that society, it becomes unquestioned. But even though as a fact that biology and the technology would mean it's okay. So you say no alcohol, but really you can have half a pint and it's totally fine. Health-wise, it has minimal next to no effect on you. But in absolutist morality, in this context where morality comes from, it says no alcohol. But as a matter of fact, it's okay. And what's even interesting, even weirder, is that as society gets used to that, the biology, evolution, you could say, adopts, changes and adapts that scenario. So, for example, a lifelong vegetarian, if he ate meat, he would throw up. He would not have the enzymes to process it. So that way you can argue then that the biology reinforces that taboo and that law, let's say, inadvertently, because they haven't got the enzymes, for example. Or someone who has been teetotal their entire life, they have a sip of alcohol, a sip of whiskey, and their eyes would go red. The body would be shocked. They wouldn't know how to handle it because they wouldn't have the enzymes. They wouldn't know how. The liver wouldn't be adapted to it. It would be too much of a shock to it. So you see how then the genetics can reinforce the morality, which would help perpetuate the morality and the taboo and the law in the country. Because then people could say, well, look at that person over there. He had pork, he had alcohol, look what happened to him. Our morality is just, look at that, it's a good example. It's punishment, adding an emotional reasoning behind it. It's punishment from God to help perpetuate that situation, even though it's a chemical, biological situation that's been accentuated, being exemplified because of the technology. So then you see, really, when you squint hard enough, the morality comes from genetics, either in the objective morality, where we all have a common opinion. We all look, the vast majority and the critical mass of people, when they look at something, would have the same kind of response. Nuances, of course, but also at the same time, the limitations and the culture and the technology that would create a codified system of law, i.e., no alcohol, no meat, no pork. But as a matter of fact, as technology changes, the reality, the laws become different and more nuanced. Oh, it's okay to eat pork, no problem. Oh, it's okay to have half a pint. Half a pint, you're totally fine. But 10 pints, oh, you're going to have problems, But 1 pint, totally fine. Half a pint, nothing, forget about it. A few drops, insignificant. It's dust, nothing. That's interesting. Then morality, I think at a deeper, fundamental, more first principle approach, comes from genetics. Because the opposite is true as well. The inverse is true. No one is saying, and this is interesting, maybe a bit unfalsifiable, but there's chemicals that don't exist in the world that might exist 100 years from now. Synthetic chemicals, let's say, just how polyester and nylon materials didn't exist 1,000 years ago. That might exist in the future, but society will have to analyse that and understand if it's moral or not, or right or just, based on existing classifications. Meaning, as new things become real and exist, how would society approach it? That's kind of teetering into another conversation, but interesting. And then likewise, in the same way, no one is saying that water is taboo. Drinking water is illegal. Ooh, no one's saying that. Because we all agree fundamentally that's important. In the same way, you could say no one says that sleeping is taboo or illegal, because fundamentally it's important. Now, you can follow that logic and say, well, the excess of it, excessive sleeping, you could say that's slothful. Again, a moral judgment on an action. But that's, again, a slightly different conversation. Because that's a moral judgment on things. Interesting. But that's an interesting observation, I realised, about thinking, where do morals come from? It's fundamentally from us, from inside us, from deep within. What works for me as a community 1,000 years ago versus a community today, community, society, company, city, county, region, city, country, continent, you name it, what works today may not work 1,000 years from now. And there'll be rules and morality. What could be considered taboo today might be not taboo 1,000 years from now, and vice versa. And vice versa 1,000 years ago. What's changed over those 1,000 years? The people have changed. The world has changed. Technology has changed. Society, standards, values have changed. Expectations have changed. Interesting. Likewise, in the way, there are things today that, there are things things that are not taboo today that would have been 1,000 years ago. Powerful stuff. But interesting. But nonetheless, Adrian's daily vlog, sharing smart stuff mentioned now. Subscribe for more, and you will see me tomorrow.